Okay, we officially on. Shalom, 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 shalom. Once again, we are back. Y'all know what time it is? It's the official Sabbath class of the day. What we're going to do is we're going to go into getting the true breakdown to Issachar and Dan. As y'all know, we've been on lately exposing the false doctrines that's been out there, exposing the fact that Hispanics are not Israelites. Hispanics are not Israelites, only them of Negroid descent, meaning in every land you got people that they call Afro something. I'm saying whether it's Afro Mexican, Afro Latino. I'm saying y'all get what I'm saying, right? Well, y'all, I'm asking y'all for y'all already know this. All we doing is exposing the falseness that's out there. And for those who don't know, we've already did Reuben, Judah, Levi, Simeon, Zebulun in prior videos. Today, it is time to expose Issachar and Dan. Now, we know they try to tell us Issachar is who? The Mexican. Taco Bell, bullfighting, heavy bean dip, Chipotle, pinata, noon in the middle of the goddamn noon, sleeping in the middle of your yard. 95% of accidents, even when they sober, 100 when they drunk. Y'all forgive me. All right. So what I'm saying is we here to prove this doctrine to be the breakdown to be false. Okay, hit your live. Y'all give me a second. We're gonna start up. But on the real tip, I ain't got no issues. But y'all not us. You're not Israel. That's simple to be said or to be understood. You're not Israel. If you're not of Negroid descent, you are not an Israelite. Okay? It is what it is. I don't make the rules. I just teach them. So, we're gonna go ahead and get ready to go into this. You know, give me a second. I done burnt my last incense and I really wanted it. Yeah, mine's playing through though. Is you on the Wi-Fi? Oh, okay. So let's go ahead and so far, well, I'm gonna talk about that for a second. As far as everything that we've been bringing out so far, anybody not convinced or not seeing the vision clearly? It's not clear as day. All right. And I know me and you have been talking about this for years, and then it came to the forefront. And when we hit the forefront hard. With me just bringing out this understanding and then the scriptures, you know, to show y'all the route that what I was taught versus what it actually is different. Now you got some people, they ordain themselves to be kings and priests and everything else, and they leave a school and say the school was teaching false, but then they leave the school and keep pushing the same doctrine. What the hell was false about it? And then you got those where some people may think that you can still just pull one scripture and make a doctrine around it and think that that's going to fool everybody. Like I told you, I ain't the first to bring this understanding out. I mean, I ain't the first to know this. I just happen to be the one to say I'm going to bring it to the forefront. And guess what? If you hating me already, you better really get ready to hate, because guess what? It's a whole heap of brothers coming behind me pushing the same doctrine with different scriptures. Yeah, the same truth, because it's not my doctrine. I'm saying it's a whole heap of brothers coming behind me, so it's only going to get worse. Pretty soon, you're not going to be able to hide. We already exposed Reuben, Zebulun, Judah, Levi, Simeon. Now let's go ahead and expose Issachar. Huh? I'm going in order. As we get to him, I'm going to get to him. Whoever's after the next two tribes after. Yeah. All right, so Genesis chapter 49, and we're going to pick up on Issachar at verse 14. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it.
Genesis chapter 49 and verse 14. Issachar is a strong ass, couching down between two burdens.
Hold on, read that again.
Issachar is a strong ass.
Nah, that should have been an African American blast. You just want to talk about characteristics. That should have been them. The strong ass, the black booty. That's. Now let me stop. Wow. Let me stop. Okay, but like I'm saying, y'all want to talk about this? Talking about characteristics? Well, hell, that should have been a damn black woman if you want to say something. But let's go here. All right, I just want to give y'all a little laugh. You know, it's a little laugh when we get ready to slice false doctrines. All right. So now let's go ahead and read it all the way over, and we're gonna break this thing down.
Genesis chapter 49, verse 14. Issachar is a strong ass, couching down between two burdens. And he saw that rest was good, and the land that it was pleasant, and bowed his shoulder to bear, and became a servant unto tribute.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay, so now they tell you it's because the Mexican. They say, oh, he got the donkey on the flag. He crouched down between two burdens because he in between what they said. I forgot how they broke it down. Two burdens. Oh, you talking about how they broke it down? Yeah, I forget because it's so baloney. I trash it out my memory. Strong ass. He worked for high. Yeah, he worked so hard and he'll be sleep on your line. Yeah, all that. I'll say, come on now. So they don't just say, oh, he worked real hard and all that stuff. Just he worked for hire. He worked real hard. He became a slave with no fighting and all that. I'm like, dude. So they just overlooked the blacks that built up the whole damn country. Right. Just overlooked them. Right. All right. So let's explain this. I'm gonna keep Let's do it. I'm gonna give y'all two different ways just in case. I'm gonna break it down the way that I know it to be, and then I'm gonna give y'all another way around it. All right. So let's do it. Issachar, once again, read that top line. 14.
Issachar is a strong ass, couching down between two burdens.
All right. So it says he's a strong ass crouching down between two burdens. The two burdens is going to tell you what the two burdens is. Read it.
And he saw that rest was good. And the land that it was pleasant. So the two burdens is actually talking about the land. Now, I'm going to tell you why I said that. He said the land was good for rest or whatever, but I'm going to show you why I said he crouched in between two burdens. Now, this is what you got to understand. The rest was good and the land was pleasant, though he was crouched down between two burdens. The two burdens he was crouched down between was Mount Tabor and Jezreel. He was crouched in between Mount Tabor and Jezreel. Those are the two burdens. And I'm going to explain to you the reason for the way you only understand that was the two burdens. You got to know a little history about both of them. So let's get history on the first one. Let's go to Joshua 19. Joshua 19, start at verse 17. All right, I'm gonna turn the camera off on YouTube.
Joshua 17.
Joshua chapter 19, start at verse 17.
Joshua chapter 19 and verse 17. And the fourth lot came out to Issachar, for the children of Issachar according to their families. And their border was toward Jezreel in Shulah.
So it says the land was towards who?
Jezreel and Shulah.
Okay, so now what verse is that?
It's still verse 9, verse 18.
Go ahead.
And Shunem.
I'm gonna get you out the water real quick. Jump to verse 22.
Verse 22. And the coast reaches to Tabar and Shahazamah and Beth Shemesh, and the outgoing of their border were at Jordan, 16 cities with their villages.
Right. So it says, now, what city did this just name that I was speaking of?
Tabar.
Okay. So when we start with Mount Tabor, now what you gotta understand is I'm gonna give you a brief history on Mount Tabor. I'm gonna give you a brief history on both, but let's start with Mount Tabor. Go to Judges chapter 4 and start at verse 1. Now remember what I told y'all. He had two burdens, but it said the land was pleasant, but he crouched between two burdens, right? So now we got Mount Tabor. Let's get some history on Mount Tabor.
Judges chapter 4 and verse 1. Judges chapter 4 and verse 1. And the children of Israel again did evil in the sight of the Lord, when Ehud was dead. And the Lord sold them into the hand of Jabin, king of Canaan, that reigned in Hazor, the captain of whose host was Sisera, which dwelt in Haresha of the Gentiles. And the children of Israel cried unto the Lord, for he had 900 chariots of iron, and 20 years he mightily oppressed the children of Israel. And Deborah, a prophetess, the wife of Lapithoth, she judged Israel at that time. And she dwelt under the palm tree of Deborah between Ramah and Bethel, and Mount Ephraim. And the children of Israel came up for her for judgment.
Watch this.
And she sent and called Barak the son of Abinom out of Kadesh Naphtali, and said unto him, have not the Lord God of Israel commanded, saying, go and draw toward Mount Tabor, and take with thee 10,000 men of the children of Naphtali and of the children of Zebulun.
Right. So she said, take 10,000 men with you and draw towards Mount Tabor. Now, why would he take that many men? What do you think they were going to do? War. So what do you think Mount Tabor was? It was a war ground. It was a war ground. Okay, so that's one land. We see that land is a battlefield. It's a war ground. When men went to war, they met there in Mount Tabor. So now, watch this. Go to Hosea. So let's put it like this. Draw toward Mount Tabor. Why? Because Mount Tabor was a battleground. When men went to war, that is where they would meet up. And Issachar sat up in there. So now go to Hosea chapter 1, verse 1.
Hosea chapter 1 and verse 1. Hosea chapter 1 and verse 1. The word of the Lord that came unto Hosea, the son of Beer, in the days of Uzziah, Jonatham, and Hazaz, and Hezekiah, and in the son of Joash, king of Israel.
Yeah, go ahead.
The beginning of the word of the Lord by Hosea, and the Lord said to Hosea, go take unto thee a wife of whoredoms and children of whoredoms, from the land hath committed great from the Lord. So he went and took Gomorrah, the daughter of Delilah, which conceived and bare him a son. And the Lord said unto him, call his name Jezreel, For yet a little while, and I will avenge the blood of Jezreel upon the house of Jehu, and will cause to cease the kingdom of the house of Israel. And it shall come to pass at the day that I will break the bow of Israel into the valley of Jezreel.
Jezreel, right?
Jezreel.
All right, that's that the end of 6.
That's the end of 5.
Go ahead.
And she conceived again and bare a daughter, and God said unto him, call her name Lerohamah, for I will no more have mercy upon the house of Israel, but I will them away. That's what it said.
All right, so now it just mentioned the city of it just mentioned Jezreel, right? Guess what Jezreel was? Another battleground, and he said, I will break the bow of Israel there. You do realize that that is the same place where the Assyrians came and took them captive in the land of bingo. So when it says so put it like this now. Issachar is a strong ass crouched down between two burdens. The land on top of him is a battleground, men coming there for war. The ground up under him is a war zone, men battling, and you in the middle. But the land he was at, he saw it was a nice land, it was good for rest. But guess what? He was in between two burdens. He was in between two battlegrounds, and one of the battlegrounds is where the Assyrians came and took them under captivity at. Right. Go back to Genesis. Genesis 49. Let's pick up at 14.
Genesis chapter 49 and verse 14. Issachar is a strong ass couching down between two burdens. And he saw that rest was good, and the land that it was pleasant, and bowed his shoulder to bear, and became a servant unto tribute.
All right. So now, before we even explain that, let's get something else real quick. Get me 1 Chronicles 12 and 32.
And 32?
Yeah.
1 Chronicles chapter 12 and verse 32. And of the children of Issachar, which were men that had understanding of the times, to know what Israel ought to do, the heads of them were 200, and all their brethren were at their commandment.
Right. So they use this scripture to say that Issachar knew how to keep all the feast days based off the stars and stuff. And you had to follow what Issachar them said. That's the only way you. So basically, the only way you can keep the feast days on stuff on time is if Issachar is in your gates. Well, how the hell was Christ them keeping it when Issachar them was already gone? You know what I'm saying? And they also try to tell you that they used the stars to come to America. Whatever. They use the stars to navigate to America. Okay. Anywho, let's go back to Genesis, and I just wanted to bring that out. Okay, so what we're gonna do is I'm also touch the thing about the burdens, the two burdens. I'm gonna give you the other breakdown that you could go with it, which is, and the reason I'm doing this is because it was explained to me in two different ways. You know what I'm saying? You got the way that they taught it, which was the lie, and then you got the way that I brought to y'all the first one, which is because they were in between battlegrounds. You know what I'm saying? Now this one is another breakdown, would be symbolic to two burdens. All right. This one ties into Christ though. All right, so read it so the memory's fresh again. Issachar with the two burdens.
Genesis chapter 49 and verse 14. Issachar is a strong ass, couching down between two burdens.
So it says, so about the two burdens pertaining to Christ. Go to Isaiah 9 and 6.
Isaiah chapter 9 and verse 6.
Now, based off of anything that we done read so far, has any of that told y'all where Issachar at?
No.
Has it told you anything about them turning into Mexicans? So what they would have to do is now they would have to show you a prophecy that's in the Bible after Joshua and stuff to tell you what Issachar was going to leave and go to. You know what I'm saying? We know, which I don't really want to go into that because we got to let people get past the basic lies first before we bring out everything. Mm-hmm. So now, go ahead, give me that Isaiah. Now this is another breakdown that they have for the two burdens.
9 and what verse?
Start at 6.
Isaiah chapter 9 and verse 6. For unto us a child is born. Unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace.
Right. So who is that talking about?
Christ.
That's talking about Christ. It said that the government shall be upon his shoulders. Right. Now go to Ezekiel 12 and 6.
Ezekiel chapter 12 and verse 6. Ezekiel chapter 12 and verse 6. In their sight shalt thou bear it upon thy shoulders, and carry it forth, and thou shalt cover thy face, that thou see not the ground, for I have set thee for a sign unto the house of Israel.
Right. So you got it where thou shalt bear it upon thy shoulder. So you got Christ. He got the government on his shoulder, and you got the Christ, the cross on Christ's shoulder. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Every last one of us must bear our own cross too. Yeah. But that was another thing that I would show as far as two burden breakdown. You know what I'm saying? You got Christ carrying the government and the cross, and then you got the one that we rolling with, the one that we push forward. You know what I'm saying? I don't deny anything that got to do with Christ if it makes sense. But the breakdown that you're going to go with is the one that I gave y'all from the jump, which is because he's in between two battlegrounds. And the land that he's in is nice, it was beautiful or whatever for rest. But he was crouched down between those two burdens. All right, let's go back to Genesis 49. Anybody unclear? Do I need to go back through it?
No.
All right, so based on what we read, does this tell you anything about somebody turning to a Mexican?
No.
Anything about they're going to be in Mexico? Okay. So I just want to know, based off this, can you actually tell who Issachar is from the rest of the brothers?
Nope.
You can't. So how then can the brother tell you, out of all the tribes we broke down, can any one of y'all come out and just specifically say, you know what, I'm from this tribe specifically?
No.
Okay. I just wanted to put that out there. All right, so pick up at verse, what was that? 15.
Genesis chapter 49 and verse 15. And he saw that rest was good, and the land that it was pleasant, and bowed his shoulder to bear, and became a servant unto the children.
Right. So that's your Issachar breakdown. It's only 3 scriptures there. None of them tell you somebody gonna be in Mexico, they're gonna eat burritos, they're gonna mix and turn into Mexicans. Right. All right. So let's go to the next tribe. I told y'all I'm gonna make this short and sweet. We about to get up out of here. We're gonna break this last one down and get up out of here.
Genesis chapter 49 verse 16. Dan shall judge his people.
So Dan shall judge his people. Dan shall judge his people. As a fact, let's read the whole thing about Dan real quick, and then we'll just come back and explain it.
Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan shall be a serpent by the way, and adder in the path that biteth the horse heels, so that his rider shall fall backwards. I have waited for thy salvation, O Lord.
That's it?
Yeah.
Now, they tell you Dan just Yeah, I don't even know what the hell the breakdown is, but then I know that bite the heels is a thing. He's supposed to be this mighty warrior. He just beat everything up, and he don't no longer exist. And they couldn't find enough to put behind the lie for Dan breakdown, so they just said, "Hell, Dan just don't exist no more."
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So let's deal with Dan now. Let's go back to the top, verse 16.
Verse 16. Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel.
So it says, Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Now, remember, I told y'all, when you reading these prophecies, this stuff has already happened. These last days ain't talking about way up here today. These things already happened. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm gonna show you when did Dan judge his people? Let's go to Judges 13, verse 1.
Judges chapter 13 and verse 1. Judges chapter 13 and verse 1. And the children of Israel did evil again in the sight of the Lord. And the Lord delivered them into the hand of the Philistines 40 years. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
And there was a certain man of Zorah of the family of the Danites, whose name was Manoah. And his wife was barren and bare not. And the angel of the Lord appeared unto the woman and said unto her, Behold, now thou art barren, and bearest not, but thou shalt conceive and bear a son. Now therefore beware, I pray thee, and drink not wine nor strong drink, and eat not any unclean thing. For lo, thou shalt conceive and bear a son, and no razor shall come upon his head, for the child shall write unto him, and he shall begin to deliver Israel out of the hand of the Philistines.
All right, now jump to verse 24.
Verse 24. And the woman bare a son, named Samson, and the child grew, and the Lord blessed him. And the Spirit of the Lord began to move him at times in the camp of Dan between Zorah and Eshtaol.
All right. Now jump to Judges 15 and verse 20.
Judges chapter 15 and verse 20. And he judged Israel in the days of the Philistines 20 years.
And he did what?
And he judged Israel in the days of the Philistines 20 years.
He judged Israel. So Dan already judged Israel in the form of Samson. It already happened. It's not a future. This was not a future thing. That's why I said in the latter days, remember I told y'all, don't let them trick you with that latter day thing. Make you think, oh, that's to my way. No, the latter days, we done had multiple latter days. That was the latter days of them time.
Right.
Dan already judged Israel in the form of Samson. It already happened. It's not a future prophecy. Why? Because Christ is the ultimate judge.
Right.
So you would need Dan to judge today. I mean, right. At the very, very end.
Right.
All right. So now go back to Genesis 49:17.
Genesis chapter 49 and verse 17. Dan shall be a serpent by the way, an adder in the path, that biteth the horse heels, so that his rider shall fall backwards.
Okay. So verse 17 says, Dan shall be a serpent by the way, in an adder of the path, right? Mm-hmm. So now, let's see how Dan was a serpent. Let's go to Judges 18, chapter 1, verse 2. No. Judges 18, verses 1 and 2.
Judges chapter 18 and verse 1. In those days there was no king in Israel, and in those days the tribe of Danites sought them an inheritance to dwell in. For until that day all their inheritance had not fallen unto them among the tribes of Israel. And the children of Dan sent of their families 5 men from the coast, men of valor from Zorah and from Eshcol, to spy out the land to search it. And they said unto them, Go, search the land. Who when they came to Mount Ephraim, to the house of Micah, they lost.
Now go ahead and 27. We're gonna make it short and sweet. We're gonna read all this. Jump to 27.
Verse 27. And they took the things which Micah had made, and the priests which he had, and came unto Lachish, unto a people that were at quiet and secure. And they smote them with the edge of the sword and burnt the city with fire.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no deliverer, because it was far from Zidon.
Is that Panama?
No.
Okay. Go ahead.
And they had no business with any man. And it was in the valley that lieth by Beth Rehob, and they built a city and dwelt therein. And they called the name of the city Dan, after the name of Dan their father, who was born unto Israel. Howbeit the name of the city was Laish, at the first. And the children of Dan set up the graven image.
Hold on, they did what?
And the children of Dan set up the graven image, and Jonathan, the son of Jershum, the son of Manasseh, he and his sons were priests to the tribe of Dan until the day of the captivity of the land.
All right, so it says what made him a serpent was the fact that he was supposed to be judging the people, and he led them into idolatry. They set up graven images, directly breaking the commandments. So as he was supposed to be judging, he ended up leading the people into straight up idolatry. That's what Dan did. Okay. 31.
And they set them up Micah's graven image, which he made all the time that the house of God was in Shiloh.
All right, so that's Dan in a nutshell. He was supposed to be judging the people, and instead he led them into idolatry, setting up graven images and stuff. So that's what made Dan a serpent. He went to directly breaking the commandments. All right. Based off of that, like I told you, it was going to be short and sweet. Based off of that, can you say where Dan is at?
No.
Decipher who's the difference between Dan and who ain't?
No.
Okay. All right. Is there anything unclear? Because I know this breakdown was real swift. It's easy to miss something. Is there anything unclear before I close out?
Nope. That's what you meant by him leading them into idolatry, that bite of the horse heel.
He led them into idolatry. It's basically that's how he made them fall backwards into sin. All right. With that being said, I've yet to get to anything where you can prove a Hispanic or anything out of any of these scriptures.
According to a lot of brothers, you call everybody that then he a snake. He a snake.
So, with that being said, we're gonna close it out here. Shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom.